dressed, and I heard the doorbell ring a few times, and I'm thinking, okay, they're starting to gather. I walked downstairs, and there was a sea full of kids. They were jam-packed, just like sardines in a can. There were so many of them in there. So I looked at Katie and I said, why are there so many people here? Somehow, I guess the invitation got photocopied, Mom, so there's a bunch more people showing up. But she said, we'll stay outside. Well, it began to rain. As a parent, I wouldn't want my child out in the rain, so I told the kids they all had to stay in. They continued to come and continued to come to where, they were everywhere. Well, it was very hot in the house by then, so I went to open the slider, and I used this whip as a Charlie bar in the slider. Well, all of a sudden, with this many people in my house, I felt a little more powerful, that I could maybe keep things in control. So I started walking through the room like this, trying to keep people moving. Anyway, and they weren't doing anything wrong as such. There were just so many of them. They were everywhere. So anyway, I had said to my friend...
What were they eating and drinking if you'd only prepared for 15?
I had 60 cans of pop in the fridge, and a cake, and then some chips and cheese dip and things like that. Well, I couldn't even see my kitchen. I couldn't get to the kitchen. I had a friend, Kim, who was there helping me. So I looked at Kim about 30, 40 minutes into this, and I said, Kim, maybe if we get the cake out, light the candles, we can try to settle this down to a birthday party. She said, Terry, they devoured that cake by hand over half hour ago. I finally make it to my kitchen, and everywhere, my white linoleum floor is covered with strawberry pop, cake mushed into it. They had taken the dining room table, moved it over into the kitchen to where they'd have like a dance space. I have pickled kitchen cabinets. The table kept rubbing up and down from kids jumping on it, scraped all the pickling off of the cabinets. It was mess everywhere. So about 9:30, I look over, and they're sitting 6 and 7 across on my couch and 2 and 3 deep. This one little girl comes along and jumps on the couch one final time. Down goes the couch, it hits the ground, just totally shattered. I came unglued. I told them, turn off that stereo. I had the cordless phone. I said, that's it, start calling your parents to come pick you up. Well, they start milling out the door. They're 14, they're not driving, they shouldn't be off walking. And I'm screaming, get back in and call your parents. Well, finally it empties out enough to where we can see the house. My teal-colored carpet is ruined. Strawberry pop.
To go back home. And I went home, and as I pulled up in the driveway, there were cars all in my driveway, the street, and music was just blasting. I said, it can't be from my house, it really can't be. I went in, there was smoke everywhere, liquor, beer, wine, people I never saw in my life, all over my house. I'm calling for her, I can't even find her. She can't even be found. I'm calling Tisha, Tisha, no Tisha. So I go through the house, and I go to my 9-year-old's room, and she's laying on the top bunk asleep with my 2-month-old grandbaby. And in the closet, I hear something. I open the closet, there are 2 people in there having sex. Girl with her out, guy with his pants out. And I go, oh. And then the guy says, he says, oh, miss, I'm so sorry. And the girl, she runs out, you know? I think I'm going to get my baseball bat, because they're getting out of here. I go, I get my baseball bat, I come back to I got my baseball bat, and I come back through there, and I said, I want everybody out. And I'm still calling her. No answer. No answer to her. I walk back through, and I look in the dining room, and my glass table is broken, this thick. I mean, just like somebody...
How did a glass table that thick break?
I have no idea. My leaded glass was broken. I was really upset. So I'm calling for her. She's still not answering. My 9-year-old's she's a witness to this. Okay, she's asleep, but I don't know if she's playing sleep or not. I go downstairs to the basement, and I smell marijuana coming up. As I get down, I'm calling her. The lights go out on me. You know, they turn the lights out on me. I got the baseball bat, and I stopped for a minute, and I said, oh, no, I'm going in. And I flipped the light on, and there she sits with blue hair. Like
Tracy had a wild party at their mother's house and made the mistake of making a before and after videotape and then showed it to her family. You're looking at just a small sample of what went on during that party. Tracy's mother isn't here because she is so upset she won't even speak about the party, but Pam is just as upset because her teenage children are at the party, and now Pam says she no longer trusts her sister Tracy. So the two, the mother and the older daughter, are against the younger daughter. Tracy, let's start with you. Tell us about this party.
Well, a bunch of my friends were home for Christmas break, and I hadn't seen everybody for a long time because I had moved away. And so we decided we were going to have this little get-together. Well, I come from a town of 3,500 people, and word gets around, and it got around to about 5 different towns. And these people started showing up, and more people started showing up, and we tried to keep it to the basement. Well, then there was people there, I had no idea who they were. And I'm like, 10 o'clock came, I'm like, the party's over, everybody out.
How many people do you think got into your house?
Probably about 200.
200, that's a lot, unless it's an enormous house, is it?
No, very small.
Okay, so what happened?
So 10 o'clock came, and we're like, the party's over, everybody out. You know, the friends that I wanted there, we said, go upstairs, hang out there till we get everybody out. We'll have our own party. So we got the people out that we didn't know, and then more people came back. The rest of my friends did, and so there was about probably 100 to 150 of us still there. But by that time, the party had moved upstairs. So we continued to have the party. I thought it was under control. There's just things I didn't see on the videotape that happened that were on the videotape. Then the party was over, and I had this videotape, and it had everything on it, and I showed it to my sister. Then she proceeded to show it to my mother.
Now, you were upset because your teenagers were there, too. When she was 15, she had a wild party with hundreds of people. 500 people?
Yes, there were 500 people there.
That destroyed her parents' home and made the local papers. Pamela says her mother was mad at her for years, and the only thing that changed her mother's resentment was for her to finally move out of the house. First, Pamela, what about this party? What happened?
Well, basically what happened was it was Passover weekend. My parents had just gotten separated, so I made a ploy to say, hey, I need to spend some time with Dad, because my mom was going to Chicago to visit with her family. And basically what I did was I told my parents I was going to stay at a friend's house, and my dad dropped me off at this friend's house. I let 4 people in my house, 4 of my closest friends, of course, and they decided they were going to let everybody in the surrounding area, including Beloit, which is, I mean, just everywhere. Every high school was there. And when I got back to my house after my friend's mother dropped me off, there were 500 people in my house. The house was trashed. I walked in the door. They said $4 for a cup. And I was like, what? This is my house. Who are all these people? You know, what is going on here?
They were charging...
They tried to charge me to get into my own home.
They were
basically
charging cover, right?
Yeah, there was a cover.
Okay, and somebody was selling beer out of a truck?
Yes. A guy from my high school, Sally.
Talk about a party.
Yeah, a guy from my high school brought 3 kegs, or maybe more. I'm not exactly sure, but there were at least 3 kegs there at the party.
And the house was really trashed.
Absolutely. Things were stolen. That was besides the point. People were putting out their cigarettes in the carpet, on the furniture. We had just redone the home. After the party, we had to recarpet the whole place. We had a built-in porch. All the paint was like chipped. I mean, everything was ruined.
And your mother's attitude?
My mother was, I mean, if I could put this so you could picture it, if she could have walked in the door and spontaneously combusted at that time, that's exactly what she would have done. Just like, you know, blow up.
Personality, and she works with teens. Sari, is this something that is a rite of passage? Did all of us have parties in our parents' home, or is this a serious problem?
It's very normal for teens to want to have parties as a way to establish their identity as separate from their parents. To be popular, like Tracy was talking about. It's something that you do to become popular, especially for girls. They like to have parties, so they're the cool kid in school.
Yeah, why don't the boys ever have a party at their house? It's every time we talk to anybody, it's always at a girl's house.
It's all girls up here. Usually because the boys find their popularity through being a sports star. And the girls, if they don't find it through academics or through sports, they want to find it from being the most popular by having the party. So that's where this is something that is natural and normal and a rite of passage. Where it becomes a serious problem is if they don't learn the consequences of their actions. Like the way a small child will touch a stove to find out that it's hot and they shouldn't do it again. If a teenager has a party and doesn't learn that it's breaking social standards, that it's destroying the house, that it's a problem, and they repeat the process and have a party again, then it's a problem. It sounds like the girls here have learned from the experience.
So are you saying it's one unauthorized party per lifetime in your mother's house?
Often that's exactly what it is. And the way that the parents can be sure that the teens are learning from the party is if the punishment fits the crime. Now you were all talking a bit about the punishments. I have found from my experience working with teenagers that grounding usually doesn't help stop a process like this. The kind of punishments that usually help are the more creative punishments. Like if you tell your daughter that she has to get a part-time job cleaning houses in order to pay for the damage. She learns the responsibility of having a job, she learns how difficult it is to clean houses, and she's getting money to pay for the damages. Plus, she's doing something constructive, increasing her self-esteem.